everyone. It's Kimberly. How are y'all tonight? I have just found out some crazy news, and I want to share this with y'all. Well, y'all are not going to believe it either, because this is something I totally just did not remember in my own family. And okay, let me just share it with y'all. Okay, the other day, or a couple of days ago, I posted about the Blue family, the Furgate family from Eastern Kentucky. Now, I assume y'all remember me sharing the story. And that basically about an Appalachian family from the 1800s that had blue skin. Two people originally carried the gene, genetic type disorder, a blood disorder. And I'm going to go ahead and right now set it on the screen what kind of disorder it was. And that way you can pause the screen and read it for yourself. So let's do that right now real quick. Okay, since y'all have read that and seen what kind of disorder it was. It's a blood disorder, as you can see. And basically both parents was a carrier. And in their family, what happened, they reproduced, and when they basically, since they kind of kept inbred and everything in their own family, and had children within their own family, so on, for generations of of course, they lived up in the mountains. And so it don't mean just because those inbred that created the gene. It was because it just kept carrying over, and the family kept this mutation of the blue skin over and over again because the gene kind of stayed in the family. So anyway, since I shared that story, but that's not what this story is about today. This story is about my own family. And let me tell you how it got started and what happened. Well, but it's sort of about the blue skin family also. It's something I had no idea about, y'all. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. No, I'm not related. I am from Kentucky, yes. I'm from South Central Kentucky. The Fugates was from Eastern Kentucky, which, I mean, that's not impossible to, have relatives from that, but that I know of, I'm not related. But my aunt, her name's Annie. She watches my YouTube channel. And so after she seen me post about the Fugate, she's like, you forgot about something probably. She said you was kind of young, so you might not remember it. And after she got to telling me the story, I'm like, kind of in the back of my mind, I might remember something about this. Excuse me. You gotta apologize. I'm just getting over pneumonia, or trying to get over pneumonia. And so what it is, Annie, she's my father's sister. And anyway, this would be through my grandmother's side. Annie's mom and my dad's mom's side. Excuse me again. So this would be through my grandma's side. Now, does this carry through my genes now? No. Because the way it would go along, I am related to this person, but not continuing the gene. So Annie was telling me, she said, we had a relative with blue skin. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, I seen your post about, on YouTube about the Blue family. They're in Kentucky. She said and she told me the relative, it would be a distant cousin of mine. Let's see, I'm thinking maybe second cousin of mine. But the only thing is, I wasn't around these cousins very much. The last known time I was around this lady was I was probably about maybe about 15, roughly 14, 15 years old. And that would be the last time I could think of that I was around her. The woman that my aunt was referring to. She would be probably my second cousin. But anyway, and this is to my grandma's side, and I won't give no names. This person's gone. She would have been over 70 years old, up between 70 and 80 years old, maybe now, as she would be living, but she is not alive no longer. But my aunt said that when she was born, she was a blue baby, and she carried the blue skin all the way up to when she died. And she's like, you may not remember. She said the last time they came to visit, they lived in Indianapolis. And the last time that family would come down and visit us once in a while. And so I didn't rarely ever seen them. And they would come more often when I was a teenager. Um, but their mother and my grandmother were sisters. But then again, I didn't get to see that side of the family very often. Again, they moved. My great aunt moved to Indianapolis years ago, and I had actually two great aunts that moved to Indianapolis. But this specific great aunt, she moved and she had her children. I wasn't really around them very much, just occasionally. All of them was, grown. They, all of her kids is old enough to be my parent. So anyway, but I didn't remember this lady. I don't think ever had children either. Um, Now she had siblings, but I'm not sure if they was a whole sibling or if she was just a half sibling to them. And if that's the reason why the other siblings did not have blue skin. So I'm thinking maybe that might be the reason that, watch out, Teddy, that they didn't know the other siblings had blue skin, because she may have just been a half sibling. And now I don't want to say for sure because I'm just speculating this. Because the rest of the siblings didn't have it, and she was the only one. And anyway, after Annie had mentioned this to me and brought her up, and of course she brought up name and everything, and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't really know that cousin very well, but I do remember it seemed like seeing her. And maybe she came down in my home and visited when I was a young child. And it seems like maybe I do remember seeing somebody with a very different skin tone, of a more of a, I thought back then maybe it seemed like a grayish skin tone, but maybe it was a blue. But as a child, I mean, when it's somebody in your family and people has a different skin, um, you don't think as much about it. I mean, to me, it would be no different any skin tone. That's still your family regardless. And so but it does now seem like to me that I do remember somebody with a similarity. I was thinking grayish type skin, but maybe it was blue. Um, I just, as a child, I didn't think nothing about to even think about asking questions or anything. Now as an adult, I'm like, wow, to go back now and remember that. I mean, I had no memory of it. And again, this relative, I wouldn't even that, just barely even knew. Now, her sister, I knew her very well, or what, a lot better. And, just thought the world of her sister. But the lady that was blue in my family, blue skinned, I didn't get to be acquainted with her very well at all. Just seen her a few times. throughout my life. And and that was when I was very young. Um, but yeah, my Aunt Annie, she's like, yeah, she's like, I seen this YouTube video about, the people with blue skin, and she's like, we had this relative with blue skin. And she proceeded to tell me the lady's name and proceeded to tell me, yeah, she was born with it. She had it up till she passed away. And then I got to thinking, well, I don't think we're related to the Fugate unless unless my great aunt, um, that woman's father was related to him. But then again, to have a blue baby, you have to have two people to carry this specific genes to cause the condition of having the blue skin. And of course, again, it's a blood disorder, but it's very rare. I mean, very unusual to have. And now there's a cure for it. But my relative carried it till they died. So there was never an option of cure. They lived in Indianapolis. This relative that I know of, that I'm familiar with. I think that relative lived the rest of their life in Indianapolis. But anyway, my aunt, though, great aunt, she originated from here, where I live at in Kentucky. So where that woman's father was from, I'm not sure if he was from Kentucky. I'm not sure nothing about his background at all. The blue, I'll just say the blue lady in my family, because again, I'm not bringing up names or anything. Um, but the blue lady in my family, uh, I'm not at all sure about her dad's background history or anything, and he might have been from Kentucky. Now, my great aunt, of course, originated right here where I live at here in Kentucky. So I do know her history and background, and her, relatives, of course. It's just when she moved off, she wasn't around as much. And of course, she had her family, raised her family, but she didn't get to travel back here as much as um, another great aunt of mine that lived in Indianapolis did. So I didn't get to be around that part of the family as much as I I would have wanted to. It'd been nice to know them better. But yeah, I had no idea when I'd done that story that I had a relative in my family that had blue skin. Um, so when Annie called me yesterday about dinner it was, and she was telling me about this, she's like, yeah, I seen the video again, and and again, I know I'm repeating this, but she's like, yeah, I seen the video, and I just, wanted to let you know, blah blah blah, blah. And she kind of filled me in, and I'm like, okay, refresh me about that give me the story about the relative again. She's like, well, they came down here when you was younger more. She didn't come that much, but my aunt was explaining. Um, and I'm like, after me and her had hung up off the phone, me and Annie, I'm like, wait a minute. It seems like I remember somebody that had a kind of a grayish, maybe blue tint to their skin now. And, and this is just a barely memory. Um, because I'm, I'm a child here. You got to go back and think. If there was kids around, I've been playing with the kids and so on. But this woman would have been talking to more the adults in the house and sitting at the dinner table. In my home, when relatives came over, all the adults would surround in the kitchen at the dinner table, and they would, whether they was eating or not, that was still the area the adults would sit and talk and give them a time to, communicate with each other and, talk together and, conjugate together and, um, you know, get to talk with each other and all that. So, yeah, that was just. So yeah, everybody's sitting, at the table, when all the adults is sat there talking to each other, you know, the kids is off playing or doing, whatever they're doing, and I don't remember. She could have came down with her sister, and I could have been playing with the sister's kids. Again, the lady that was blue in my family, I don't even know if she even had any children. If she did, I'm not aware. I did not ask any. Um, it seems like to me, my memory, I don't think she did. But again, I barely remember her. But I thought that was really unique, though, after Annie had mentioned that yesterday. And I told that story here. They come to find out, though, I did have a relative that was blue skinned and born blue. So I thought that was very unique. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean we're related to the Fugate, and I'm not saying we are. I am blood related to that lady, but it's not going through my genes since it was my grandmother's sister, my great aunt's daughter. So it's going away from my genes, even though she would be blood related to me. So I couldn't carry the genes on to somebody else, or neither do my kids or anything like that. I'd say her mom, from what I'm understanding about the gene of it, her mom and her dad would have had to have the same gene that would make a blue baby. And so two carriers basically makes the blue child. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to get on here. I thought it was kind of unique when Andy told me about this, and just kind of give it up here and give you all an update. That after I told the story, I'm like, I'm shocked, y'all. I'd forgot. Now, there's a little back in my memory here that's kind of, yeah, it seems like I do remember, again, a lady that did have that bluish, grayish tint to their skin. But as a child, I didn't think nothing about it. But now I know, as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. So I wanted to get on here and kind of share that. And I'm like, I was just kind of floored, though. Yeah, after I'd done the story, then Annie called me and told me, yeah, you have a relative that with blue skin. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, when she proceeded to tell me, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. Yeah, now I kind of maybe do remember. So I thought that was kind of unique. So I wanted to get on here and share that with y'all. And, just to kind of even document it for my kids to even hear about this, or, my other family members to get to hear about this if they're watching this, that maybe not even know. And again, I won't share, names or anything, because that person's gone, and I don't want to disrupt other relatives or anything that might not want it to be shared. But anyway, yeah, so I thought that was really unique. And so anyway, I wanted to get on here and just share you a little bit of my blue family history. Apparently I have. But again, it's not through my blood. And I explained just a minute ago how it happens, and the two parents carrying this gene. But so it's not going to carry through my kids or anything. But I just thought that was unique, that y'all would want to enjoy hearing this. I was kind of flabbergasted about it when I heard it, like, what? And then come to think, wait a minute, maybe I do remember something about this. Kind of one of those little childhood memories in the back of your head. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say like the childhood memories in the back of your head? You forget, and then when it's kind of stirred up a little bit, you do remember it. Let me know in the comments if you know what I mean. And because that's kind of how this was. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I just kind of want to touch base and fill y'all in on this. I thought y'all might would enjoy hearing about it. So I hope each one of you have a great night, and see you on the next video.